Hello everybody, it's Andrew Hutchings here, still not a licensed physician, never giving medical advice, but giving medical information. And would you call somebody hateful for acknowledging that somebody has a mental illness? Of course not. It's not hateful to say, this person has autism, this person has schizophrenia. But there's one mental illness that is very taboo to talk about and not fully recognized as a mental illness. And if you point at it actually being a mental illness, which it is, you get called hateful. I'll give you a hint, you might also be called fat phobic. Yes, obesity is not a physical illness. It's a mental illness, which often has accompanying physical characteristics. It's not because they have a biological problem that makes them accumulate more fat. Contrary to what anybody wants to say, there is no bodily disorder that can make you 400 pounds regardless of what you eat, regardless of what you do. It doesn't work like that, and as another YouTuber likes to say, something about laws of thermodynamics, like we can't violate them. Yeah, it's true. You don't get energy from breathing air. If a 400-pound person goes on an air and water diet, they won't be 400 pounds a month later. Guaranteed. It is impossible. And guess what else? It is impossible to become 400 pounds if you are not overeating. So why is it that it's a mental illness? Now, I'm not saying that it's always a mental illness, but it often is. I'll give you an example first of when it is not a mental illness. If somebody just simply doesn't realize that they are over-consuming calories, and as crazy as it might seem, if they don't realize that they're gaining weight and becoming obese. Not everybody is very self-aware, not everybody's paying attention to their body, and even if they do notice it, they might not think much about it. So if somebody becomes obese through lack of attention, that's not the same as becoming obese through lack of attention, realizing it, and staying obese or becoming more obese. And it's not the same as convincing yourself that it's healthy to be obese and that it's a good thing. And it's not the same as having a mental disorder called an eating disorder where you are addicted to food. I guess you could separate the mental illness into two parts. One would be addiction to food, and the other would be, trying to think of the best name for it, but it's a denial of reality. A convincing yourself that it's okay and that it's healthy, what perhaps even healthy, to be fat. Well, guess what? That's the same as an alcoholic saying, it's okay that I drink 40 drinks a day. It's healthy. If you want to tell me it's not healthy, you're hateful. I can drink. Yeah, you can. You can do it. Do it. I don't care. I really don't care if you want to do that. But the reality is that it's not healthy. Everyone has the freedom to make their own decisions, but it is not healthy to drink 2 liters of vodka a day, and it's not healthy to eat 10,000 calories a day. It's not healthy to eat 3,000 calories a day if you're already obese. It's not healthy to be obese or morbidly obese. Notice that it's called morbidly obese because it is morbid. It is deadly. It kills probably more people in the civilized world than any other thing. So let's touch on the eating disorder part. The most common addiction in our in civilized modern society I'm not saying in Africa, in a village somewhere, where they are walking around and getting animals and hunting them and very thin. Like, of course, there's not an eating problem over there so much. But in the civilized world, like United States, Canada, London, other places, the number one risk factor to human life is food addiction. And it's the number one addiction as well. People don't seem to realize it, but you're not supposed to be eating all day long, and you're not supposed to be eating stuff with a ton of sugar all the time. Somehow we got to this point by improving our ability to not have scarcity of food and having it so available that we became addicted to food. Because food is addicting. We are programmed to eat because for most of human history, for millions of years, there has been a scarcity of food, not an abundance. It's a very new thing, a very rare thing, that somebody can actually have more food than they need, and enough food to kill them. And make no mistake, overeating will kill you. It may sound funny, it may sound ridiculous, but overeating is the number one cause of death in the civilized world. You may argue with me, you may say, but do you have a medical study to back it up? You don't need a medical study to back this up. But yes, there are actually medical studies. You look at all the top causes of death, and you look at how they're related to obesity, and it doesn't take someone older than 5 years old to go, well, if obesity causes all of those top causes of death, perhaps we shouldn't be obese and get those issues. You don't want atherosclerosis? Don't be obese. I'm not saying you can't develop it without obesity, but the number one cause of it is obesity. You don't want diabetes, you don't want to have those health issues? Don't be obese. Of course you can have diabetes without obesity, but most diabetes is from obesity. You don't want cancer? Well, cancer, that can be caused by obesity. It sure can. I'm not saying all cancer is caused by obesity. A lot of it is. You don't want health issues, don't be obese. So yeah, what was, before I got off on this tangent, I was talking about like the classifications of obesity. So the one I was starting on was the eating disorder. So yeah, people are addicted to food. Tell somebody that they have to go a month without sugar, and they'll go crazy. They'll tell you they can't do it. They try to do it. They cheat on it. It's really not that difficult. But I would say nothing in life is that difficult, because that's how I am, and that's the mentality that I believe is healthy. Because you do have the capability to, if you have the capability to do something, you can do it. It's that simple. It's not a matter of how hard or how easy. At the end of the day, if you can do it, you can do it. If you can't do it, you can't do it. Bottom line is you can get off sugar. You can get rid of a food addiction. So don't get that mentality that it's too hard. But reality is that most people can't do it. And you do not need sugar, just so you know. Perhaps you have optimal health with some sugar from natural sources, but you absolutely do not need to eat peanut M&Ms. Notice I have a little small bag of these peanut M&Ms. You know why that is? Because 1, I don't need them. 2, I shouldn't eat them, but I do like them. But if I'm gonna eat them, I'm not gonna eat that many of them. But with food addiction nowadays, why don't you just fill up a whole bowl with them and just eat them? Yeah, because it feels good to eat them, so why not just keep eating and eating and eating and eating? Well, it's like saying, alcohol feels good, why not keep drinking and drinking and drinking and drinking? The good thing about alcohol is you actually feel like garbage if you drink way too much. With overeating junk, especially sugar, you do feel bad, but it's much less noticeable than with alcohol. Food is the sneakiest of addictions, also because like any addiction, once you do it all the time, you stop realizing that bad feeling. If you go off the sugar and the extra food, you will feel much better, and if you reintroduce it, you will feel bad. It's just like an alcoholic. They drink alcohol every day. They've gotten used to this shitty feeling. They don't realize that they feel like garbage. You don't realize that you feel like garbage. I mean, perhaps you don't feel like garbage, but a lot of people feel like garbage and don't realize it. It's really an amazing phenomenon. If you ask most people, I mean, nowadays also a lot of people go on depressed and this and that, but if you ask them like how they physically feel, most people are going to say, I feel pretty good, like I feel good and healthy. But if you actually fixed up their life, got their diet in check, their exercise in check, their sunlight in check, their sleep in check, they'd be like, whoa, I feel so much better. And then you put them back to how they were before, they'd be miserable. No, I can't do this. I need to get back to being healthy. But, I mean, addiction is strong, so they might actually go back because our brains are interesting things. It doesn't matter necessarily if you feel bad, if you also get to feel good. It's like with alcohol. Easy example. Alcohol may make you feel like garbage the next day, but because it makes you feel good, lots of people know that if you overdrink the next day, well, I don't want to drink alcohol again, it feels so horrible, blah, blah, blah. But of course you go back and you drink alcohol again because of the good part of it. The good feeling, addictive part of it is separate from the bad feeling, toxic part of it. Food addiction is no different. The difference is that it's not acknowledged. It's really insane how much sugar and stuff is in everything that most people eat. But the sugar issue is separate from the calorie issue. Not only are people addicted to sugar, but they are addicted, it's not necessarily the calories it's a combination of the calories and the pleasure. Whether food is with high sugar, sugar makes food more pleasurable, more addictive. But even without a lot of sugar, I was about to say with carbohydrates are sugar polymers, sugars that are all linked together making like a chain. But most people would separate carbohydrates and sugars. Like, although they are the same, made of the same things, they are at the end of the day different. But you probably know as well as I do that eating a bag of chips is also addicting, even though it does not have monomeric sugars. And by monomeric, I mean like pure glucose. And it feels good to keep putting them in your mouth, keep chewing on them, keep swallowing them. One, you do actually have biological responses making you crave food. Because like I said, most of human history, there has been a scarcity of food. If you didn't have a desire to eat and go search for food and put it in your mouth and consume it, you would die. But then there is also just a nice taste in your mouth. There's also the habit. If you're bored and you have nothing else to do, it cures your boredom to put stuff in your mouth and chew it and swallow it. So yeah, eating is addicting, sugar is addicting. When you put them together, it's extra addictive. And now let's go on to the other part of the mental illness. And perhaps they should be completely separated, but they often are together. But the other aspect of the mental illness is morbidity. You should be inclined to live. It's a natural and good human behavior to want to live, not to die. It's like a healthy person does not want to commit suicide. What are you doing by convincing yourself that you like being fat? Like you like being morbidly obese, and convincing yourself that it's good. You are suicidal. Now, it's not exactly the same as typical suicidal, but it is certainly in a way suicidal. I just have to think of ways to explain this. Because being obese is unhealthy. Now, when we say unhealthy, typically people don't think of severe consequences. Oh, that's unhealthy. It doesn't really matter. It's just unhealthy. Now, if you say that's deadly, that brings on a whole different connotation. So why do we just say it's unhealthy to be fat? That's a very nice way of putting it. It's unhealthy to put a gun to your head and pull the trigger. It's not good for your health. But if you say it's deadly, because it is, it's like, I am not going to do that. You shouldn't do that. Don't do that. You want to do that? You should go to the hospital and be locked up so you can't kill yourself. That's what we do for suicidal people. We send them to the hospital and we prevent them from killing themselves until they realize that they don't want to kill themselves. So why don't we do that with obese people? It's because we don't think of it as suicide. We don't think of it as self-harm. And that's the perfect way to put it, self-harm. It is technically suicide, but it's a very long and drawn-out suicide, so it's nicer to say self-harm. Not nicer, and I hate niceness. Because niceness is a cover for weakness and allowing bad things. By not standing up to things that are bad and being nice, you're actually a bad person. Believe it or not, I'm a better person for telling you this and being mean than if I went, you can be fat, it's all right. Be happy, be fat, enjoy your life. That's very nice to say, but the matter of fact is, that's a very evil thing to say. It's evil to convince people to harm themselves. Would you say that it's nice to tell an alcoholic, oh, just drink your alcohol, just feel good, like, you shouldn't be so hard on yourself, just drink all day. They say you shouldn't do it, but just do it, like, just keep drinking. Don't let anybody tell you that something's wrong with you. You're perfect. You should do what you want to do. You would think there's really something wrong with that person. And you would think, like, it would kind of make you a little bit sick. It's like if there's a heroin addict and somebody's telling them to just keep doing heroin. Like, it's not right. It's morbid. It's encouraging self-harm. And it's evil. The problem is nowadays, everyone's afraid to use people use strong words, but only against people that they deem mean and hateful. But yeah, we've made things too soft and fluffy nowadays. Oh, you want to do that? It's all right. It's unhealthy, but don't worry. Oh, I'm not even going to try to imitate these people. It makes me sick. It bothers me. I mean, I don't really care. At the end of the day, I care about myself and my family. Cut off for some reason, but it does make me sad when I see people and the human race in general doing poorly. I like to see a prosperous human race, prosperous people. Like, I think it's something ingrained in us, since we are all related at the end of the day, that we want to see ourselves, aka the human race, do good, not do bad, not get worse. And guess what? It's not good for us to be obese. It's not good for us to have mental illness. It's not good for us to be weak. It's not good for us to be stupid. And people need to hear the truth that, for example, obesity is a food addiction and mental illness. But then again, every addiction is mental illness. And perhaps I'll make a video on that. But addiction induces insanity. If somebody is addicted to something, they are, to a degree, insane. That may come as a shocker to you. Like, what do you mean that they're insane? If you have any experience with addicts, when somebody is addicted to something, their mind can convince them of anything in order to justify their addiction. You will not convince a heroin addict that they should not do heroin. Now, occasionally you will. A person will be strong-willed and very honest to themselves and realize it. But even then, when they actually try to stop using it, their brain will start to trick them again, because their brain has been confused by that chemical to believe that it needs it. The same goes for someone addicted to food and obese. And you can see it nowadays happening. It's very popular to call people that say what I'm saying fat-phobic or haters, hateful. And you see them justifying being obese. Now, if I'm not going to get into that. Now, they try to say it's not unhealthy, it's not bad for you, it's healthy, it's this, it's the same thing any other addict will say about their addiction. Oh yeah, I drink wine a lot, but it's because, wine has been shown to be really good for you, so that's why I drink 5 bottles a day. I'm losing my interest in pretending to be like these people when I talk to you, because it's just so ridiculous. Sure, wine is good in moderation, in extreme moderation. Food is good in moderation. In fact, without food, you die. Water is good. Without water, you die. But guess what? Too much water and you die. Are you catching on to something? That too much of anything is bad for you. It's healthy to go out in the sun, get some sunlight. It will destroy your skin if you stay out there too long in too strong of sun. So to recap, there is the food and sugar addiction aspect of this, and there is the more, I don't even know what to call it. You can leave recommendations for names for this in the comments, but it's the convincing yourself that it's okay to harm yourself, that it's good to harm yourself, that it's healthy to harm yourself. It is insanity. Like I said, every addict is insane. That seems hard. No, he's not insane. He's just sick. No, that sickness makes him or her insane. They are not of sound mind. They are not sane. Any person who harms themselves is not sane. Now you big, but what about people who exercise too much and hurt themselves? There's a big difference between temporarily harming yourself in order to become more healthy and harming yourself just to harm yourself for pleasure. Yes, there are actually people who do too much exercise, for example, and truly do harm themselves, and there's not a benefit to it. They are also mentally ill and insane. And it's interesting that nowadays you're not supposed to call mentally ill people insane because it's mean. But guess what? Mental illness is, by definition, insanity. You are not sane if you are mentally ill. You cannot be trusted to make good decisions for yourself, for other people, for anything. And it's not hateful to speak the truth that obesity and food addiction is a mental illness. Like I said, you would not call me hateful for saying that this autistic person has a mental illness. No, it's a fact. And because we know that they have a mental illness, we try to help them. Now, of course, autism, you can't help them too much. Like, you can accommodate them. with other mental illnesses, let's say schizophrenia, you can try to help them through medications. With obesity, you can try to help them with cognitive therapy. It's not hateful to acknowledge the truth, and in fact, only by acknowledging the truth can those people be helped. I'll end it here. AndrewHutchings.org for coaching, consultations, plans, whatever. I cannot give medical advice because I'm not yet licensed to work as a doctor. Sad considering all the people that are licensed and do so much harm and so little good. But I can give you medical information. And the only difference is I'm not telling you to do it, but you get all the same information. And you can choose whether or not you want to do it. I have a book on how to get rid of tendinitis. Like this video, I don't lie about things. I don't ignore reality, and I'm also able to figure things out. This book on tendinitis, now I can't promise 100.00000% of the time, because nothing works like that. But so far, it has had a 100% success rate, and will most likely get rid of your tendinitis in about 1 month. Please like and subscribe, check out some of my other videos. I hope you appreciate this video. And always try to help people and bring the human race up. Because it's a shame to see the human race decline.